This video was taken in August. This is how the HIMARS system works. Experts say that these modern multiple launch rocket systems have changed the course of the Russian-Ukrainian war. The Ukrainian armed forces destroyed dozens of Russian ammunition depots and bases of the occupiers using the HIMARS systems. August 14th, Popasna, Luhansk region. These are the consequences of a strike on the headquarters of the Wagner private military company. According to the head of the Luhansk Regional Military Administration, Serhiy Haidai, more than 100 mercenaries have been eliminated. The Russian side did not disclose the number of losses. And this is Kadiivka, also in the Luhansk region. There on August 26, the Ukrainian military destroyed the base of the Russians in the Donbass hotel. The occupation authorities again say nothing about casualties.
In Kadiivka, it flew into the hotel where the occupiers had been based since 2014. 200 Russian military airborne soldiers were eliminated. Serhiy Haidai, head of the Luhansk Regional Military Administration, on Telegram.
September 25th, Kherson, then still occupied by the Russian army. The video shows the consequences of a strike on a hotel in the city center. Representatives of the occupation authorities of the region and Russian propagandists were present there. The geography of the banks, as Russian media named the explosions, is also extensive in the temporarily occupied Crimea. Simferopol, Sevastopol, Jankoy, Balaklava, Yevpatoria, Armyansk, Kerch, Feodosia. This is not a complete list of the settlements of the peninsula where military facilities were destroyed or damaged. The Russian side blames safety violations or blames the Ukrainian army for the shelling. But the only strike for which the armed forces of Ukraine claimed responsibility was the attack on the airfield in Saki. This tactic has a psychological effect.
Due to remoteness, Russian citizens are not so painfully aware of the losses, failures and, most importantly, the cost of this war in all of its senses. A convincing example of the correctness of this approach this year was the successful efforts on the armed forces of Ukraine to physically transfer combat operations to the temporarily occupied territory of Crimea. This refers to a series of successful missile strikes against enemy air bases in Crimea, first of all against the airfield in Saki. The task of the armed forces of Ukraine in 2023 is to make these feelings for the Russians and other occupied territories more acute, natural and quite tangible, despite the considerable distance to the targets. From a joint article by Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine Valery Zaluzhny and First Deputy Chairman of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine Committee on National Security, Defense and Intelligence Mikhailo Zabrodsky.
On December 5th, for the first time during a full-scale war, Russian military facilities in deep rear areas, particularly the Dyagilevo airfield in Ryazan and Engels in the Saratov region, came under fire. They are 500 and 700 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Military experts call it the beginning of a new stage of the war. Strikes on airfields are especially painful for Russia. Strategic aviation has become vulnerable even before takeoff, and the illusion of safety of the deep rear has disappeared.
There can be no talk of any escalation. We are in a defensive war. We are defending ourselves. Today, there are many voices that we should allow the Ukrainians to hit the targets in deep inside the Russian Federation, for example, on the Caspian Sea, from where our energy infrastructure is being shelled, and at other objects.
When starting a full-scale invasion, the Kremlin did not think at all about the possibility of war on its territory. Today, the Russian military is increasingly dying not at the front, but in the rear. Experts say that the ability of the Ukrainian military to hit the enemy has increased, and now the deep rear of the Russian army, that is its security zone, has moved back hundreds of kilometers. Reported by Roman Smoler, Valeria Nikipelova, UATV News.